Carla and Lou here from Games, Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for short, and it is of course Freddy's Nightmares, an episodic recap. We're up to episode 10, the fucking double figures.
Yeah.
Have it. It is The Bride Wore Red, written by Howard Laken Green and directed by George Kazenda. 3 major players I'm going to mention in regards to the cast. We have Eddie Driscoll as Gavin. Big up Gavin!
We like Gavin.
We like Gavin. Philly gets a rough stick in this.
Yeah.
Diane Franklin as Jessica. Yeah.
Irritating.
We'll explain. And Catherine Moffat as Red.
Yeah.
And you might be thinking, Red? We'll explain that as well.
Yeah.
This is a mostly bland double. Doesn't really do much. Repeats itself a lot and gets very confusing in the second segment. But here's the thing. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it because it all made sense to a certain degree. Yeah. And I really think the characters and actors are great. In particular, Eddie Driscoll and Diane Franklin as the couple. I think they're good chemistry, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We watched this and we chatted pretty much all the way through it. Not because we were bored or anything like that, but because we were laughing and joking, referencing what was happening on screen.
Yeah.
That to me is a sign of a good episode.
Yeah.
Rather than just sitting there and monging out to it.
Yeah.
You know? So, segment 1. It's time for our boy to face the music with Rap Master Freddy. Yeah, it's one of those introductions with Freddy. I had to put it because, fuck me, you know, I've forgotten. I always cite Freddy playing the guitar in the school and the classroom as one of the cheesiest moments in Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy-related stuff. Yeah. Until you see Rap Master Freddy and that. So the way we're watching this as well, we're getting the, we're getting the ad breaks. With the logo that comes in, and each time in this episode, there's, in the episode there's like 6 or 7 of them. Each time you get that scratching noise, it was quite irritating. Yeah. Gavin, he's a dude, and he's getting married. He's getting married to Jessica, but they both seem to be having doubts. Yeah. Both seem to be having a bit of issues. Gavin seems to be frightened of commitment, a little bit unsure about whether he could stay faithful almost, and so on. And the latter is terrified that he's not committed and that he may not really want to go through it. In fact, she's a little bit too insistent on it. I said to you, this is she the one with a problem? Yeah. You know, she isn't really, but she's got her own problems. Yeah. We'll deal with them. But he immediately warms, we warmed him because he's insistent that he loves her. And that he does love her and that he's going to get over his fears because he loves her and stuff like that. And I was like, shit, that's some adult thinking. I'm down. And then he goes out with his best man for a stag. Yeah. The night before a wedding. Can you believe that was a thing once? No, that's crazy. Insane. My God.
And especially drinking was, I think, more of a thing.
Well, considering what happens to him in this, he probably shouldn't be going out drinking this heavily before. No. So he meets up with his 2 best men, and oh my God, is this infuriating. The 2 or 3 minutes of them in this club, where all his friends do is make jokes and references to ball and chain and, being trapped and last day as a single man. Every line out of their mouths is that.
So generic. Yeah.
It's so generic, it's fucking irritating. And as they drink, they are trying to convince him to have one last fling. And I was like, you dicks. Yeah. Cheers, guys. Cheers, friends. Yeah. And kind of getting frustrated. Gavin kind of, all right, I'm going to go for it. And we do probably get the funniest moment in it as he stands up and, crediting the actor, goes straight down on his face to the table. Yeah. And it looked like it would have hurt. Yeah. Because he just goes boof and basically blackout drunk. Yeah. I was like, that's kind of cool. That's a cool way to get into the dream sequence. Yeah, definitely. And it is. As we now enter what is the episode. This is why this maybe stands out strongly in our minds. This is clear. It's clear this is a dream. This is clear what we're doing. As the club's a bit different, the men have been separated, the women have been separated, and Gavin's trying to pick one up and struggling. It gets a little weird, a little unusual. The masks, I didn't really understand. No, I didn't get that. I thought they were supposed to look like him.
I think so.
Or something like that, but it just looked like cheap plastic rubber masks. It had a bit of the sort of Michael Myers-y about it. Yeah. Didn't make a lot of sense, but basically ends up being a stripper who's named Red. And she kind of gets the best man to hold him in a sort of Iron Maiden with the doors open as she strips while breaking down his inner worries. Yeah. She is fantastic here. Yeah. The confidence, the way she moves, the way she talks, and the way she pulls him apart of all his fears is actually really strong. It sounds boring. It lasts about 5 minutes, but it's done in a compelling way.
I liked it.
And when we say strip, do you know what I mean?
It's 90s
strip. You're not getting nothing here to freak out a kiddie.
I say 90s strip. Showgirls come out.
I was about to say, there's plenty of 90s with boobs. There's no boobs, basically.
TV 90s.
There's no boobs. And his nightmare ends with him being closed up in the Iron Maiden. Thought that was a clever little way to end it as well. And I also really like the fact that he wakes up on the couch at home, hungover. You're like, okay. And Jessica's there, and she's a little bit annoyed about things, and your friends just dumped you on the porch and ran away. And I was, at least they got him home.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that's something, that kind of thing. And you kind of figure, all right, well, something's going to happen here. But no, he doesn't sort of, I love you. Because she's like, banging on about marriage again. He's like, and he says, I love you, and we're going to get married and stuff like that. I was like, oh, cool. We then cut to the wedding. We cut to the wedding. They're getting married. We meet Jessica's father here. Oh. And clearly he's a bit of a dick. He was annoyed that he has to miss his golf game to do this wedding. Yeah. I love that. I was like, that is awesome. That is just one line of, I'm a piece of shit.
Dick.
Yep, amazing. He also is forcing Gavin to get a promotion that Gavin doesn't want. He's not ready for it. But he's like, I can't have my son-in-law working in this position, all that. That was an interesting thing. It's a shame they didn't pursue that a bit further. But again, I think with more time, there would have been done a whole thing where Gavin was stressed at work and stuff like that. They do a thing later on where he suggests he doesn't have as much time because he's having to work late because of the job. But they don't really explore it, unfortunately. Red shows up at the wedding, and this confused us. It made us think, wait, wasn't that a dream sequence? So how's she here? And it's still not, I don't think, really well explained at all, because she's constantly waving and smiling and flirting from a distance with Gavin.
I think if she's real, I reckon if he got that drunk, he probably would have mentioned where he's getting married and things like that. I suspect
he met Red. He did actually meet Red in the bar and talk to her and stuff like that. I think that's what happened.
He probably said, where I'm getting married. And
that's exactly what it is.
You just know times of weddings and just go.
Or, if they really wanted to push that and they had more time, we end up finding at the end that he did get blackout drunk, he did talk to Red, but he didn't have to sleep with her.
Yeah.
And that's when she turned up there, that kind of thing. And Gavin can't keep his eyes off her. Yeah. He's constantly kind of looking over her and stuff like that. But they do get married. They do get married.
Yeah.
I can't remember, what was the priest said that he made you laugh? You can now kiss the bride. It's something like,
if you wish.
If you wish, it was like a suggestion rather than like a, hey, go on,
Yeah, rather than you may now kiss the bride, it's like, if you want to, or something like that. I'm like,
it's weird.
It's really, really odd.
So they're married, and we should say this episode is one complete one.
Yeah.
Other than focusing on... So we focus on Gavin in one, and we focus on Jessica in the other, but they're both integral to each other's stories.
Yeah.
So it's basically one complete thing. Because we now see them married, but having problems, and all his fears have basically come true. He's talking about the fact they're not having sex anymore, she doesn't dress up nice, he's stressed, she's complaining he doesn't bring her flowers. Basically all the stuff, they say happens. It's that kind of thing. Frustrated, he goes back to the bar and meets Red. And he insists, he gets talking to Red, but he keeps insisting he's not going to cheat and stuff like that. And he's happily married, but he takes his ring off, which is a weird fucking thing. In fact, Red helps him take it off. And then he goes home with her. But he's still even there insisting. But he goes inside, and I don't make sense of this. It's like there's a cough in there, it gets a bit weird, she injects him with something.
Yeah,
it's very, very unusual, and it also feels rushed. Yeah. They didn't really know where to go with this. Because then we kind of completely cut and realise all of that is a fantasy, as he's now kissing the bride but still staring at Red. Yeah. So we kind of imagine all of this.
Yeah.
And that part is where it falls apart as an episode. You're like, what?
I had one straight cut of the dream and then him coming round. Or snapping out of it.
I don't mind it
as
if
the
it had
priest
been...
said, I think I would have had him snap to it when the priest said, you may now kiss the bride. And then...
I think it would have been fine for everything to have happened and him... The marriage falling apart with the issues, going to the bar, but instead of being like, oh, Red's weird, and then stabs him with a syringe and has a weird home, he just goes to the bar and ends up cheating. And that's it. Yeah. So the fear is realised.
Yeah.
Because then that ties into the next segment about the cheating aspect. Because the second part is direct continuation, but based around Jessica and her issues with her father. Now, the problem with this is that they only mildly hinted about this. And this doesn't have enough time to fully build this. Yeah. So the scenario they create, while interesting, feels overblown. Yeah. It also makes Jessica look extremely odd.
Yeah.
So, it's all initially confusing as we see that she picks up married men. So this is nuts. she is apparently picking up married men, takes them to a hotel room, ties them up, and then ruins their marriage by calling their partner and taking pictures of them. Yeah. And her latest victim is a bloke who she might end up regretting to do it. You kind of get the impression he's a bit more powerful. But also, this was always going to come back and bite her in the arse. Yeah. It appears that a paranoia about Gavin is running rampant and connected to something that happened in her childhood. And we get a very dreamlike scenario here. As basically it reveals that she caught her father cheating. And he convinced her to stay quiet, suggesting that her parents would get divorced, would have to split up, you'd be separated. And what is good is each line he says to her, she conjures up a childhood visual of what that might be like, including him having to split the time with her, and always thinking of her like being cut in half with an electric knife. That kind of thing. So that's kind of cool, but it's very long. It goes on for quite a while. And obviously, then you all connect all the dots. You're like, this has caused a ton of guilt, and obviously she's worried her parents will be splitting up tonight because her father contacts her and says, like, I want you guys to come over for dinner, we've got something to tell you. Yeah. And she immediately freaks out. She goes to her father demanding him to tell her what it is. But he's like, we'll tell you tonight. And you might think, like, why not just tell her now? But to be fair, there's a good reason why they don't. And there's also a lot of reasonable behaviour going on here. We should say the segment about Gavin having fears or like the issues of marriage completely fake. They actually seem happy. Yeah. Seems to be going okay, except for her sudden inclusion of being weird and trapping married men. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. At dinner, it's revealed that the parents are getting a divorce. Yep. And I like the fact that, well, look, we didn't want to tell you before, we didn't want to ruin your honeymoon, so we thought we'd wait till you came back. Nice. I was like, wow, that's reasonable. Cool thing to do. I really like that. Gavin's supportive, he holds his wife hand and stuff like that. And she starts to freak out and saying, oh, Father, I kept that secret, I kept your secret and all that kind of thing. And the mother just reveals, you call it before. I said, I bet the mother already knows. Yeah. And the mother was like, I knew about the women. I knew about the cheating. And it's like, yeah, of course you probably did. Jessica freaks out. Really, really freaks out. The acting it's not good. Because it's just so over the top. And I don't know if I can blame the actor or the writing. She's got to go from 0 to 100. And it's not convincing. It's a bit awkward. It's a bit grab your hair and that kind of thing, you know. It's a bit like just a bit silly. Yeah. She ends up running out to a car. Gavin follows. They get in the car, and there is a cool, well shot where from behind them, the guy she humiliated in the hotel room is sitting in the back of the car with a gun. Yeah. Did like that. It was a surprising moment. I'd forgotten that happened. We cut immediately to the hotel room where she's now tied up in the bed and he's threatening her. Don't know where Gavin is at this stage. No. But yeah, and he's threatening to cut her with a knife. And basically, that kind of makes you think, okay, that's awfully familiar to what she went through in childhood or what she thinks she went through in childhood. And it's true, because we now cut to her in a, I guess, institution, mental asylum. And she's tired in the bed and absolutely, not catatonic, shaking back and forward and stuff like that. She's basically gone insane with the idea of her parents divorcing. Yeah. It's just too extreme. Yeah, it is. And Gavin is visiting her, he's heartbroken. I did like that. It's not that he was happy or anything like that. He's like, I can't stand her to see her like this. He leans in to try to talk to her, but when he leans in, all she sees is the man she threatened, she tied up and stuff like that. And that's how it ends. It's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag, unfortunately. Memorable part because of the characters more than anything else, but it's just a little nonsensical and a little bit too slow, fast. And it's like, whoa. Yeah. I feel like this one needed more time. Not like it needed to be a full length like we've talked about some of the others, but needed a little more time dedicated to certain other parts. Yeah. There are elements that I think are brilliant, such as, like I said, Gavin being torn apart by Red. But we didn't spend, for example, way too much time at the wedding where he's just looking at Red and elements like that. I feel like with Jessica as well, maybe she... I don't know, there's like, she doesn't go to full hog. She still tries to ruin marriages, but she doesn't go to full hog. Yep. I don't know, just like a little bit less. Her plan was... Or something else gets her... What annoyed me is her plan is done. And I cannot believe at this point no other bloke has sort... She doesn't kill them. She leaves them alive, lets them see her face, does it all in front of them. There are going to be a lot of people. If she's done this, does this regularly, there are going to be a lot of people out for revenge. A lot of people. That's why that doesn't work for me. Yeah. The idea of having to harbour the guilty secret of your father's cheating ways throughout childhood, I can imagine, yes, that affects you into adulthood. I can buy into that. It's one of the few times I think Freddy's Nightmares has a go at playing around with the idea of mental health, but doesn't commit to it fully. Because from that, they then take an over-the-top I would have rather her get frustrated and angry maybe and attack her father and you know that kind of thing through it, rather than I'm going crazy because I want, you know, because at this point she's a fucking grown adult, and up to this point we hadn't been given the impression that she was a child in a woman's body, and it sort of reverts to that. It just doesn't really work, unfortunately. But it is an intriguing one. I think maybe check it out for Eddie Driscoll as Gavin, because even by the end we were like, Gavin's great. Yeah. Episode 10, The Bride Bore Red. Got any thoughts and you know what to do? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website where reviews, news and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at GBHBL. Just search for GBHBL and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.